Hi, it's been a local constitutional coop back here for some more videos. And this is in the midst, by the way, the impeachment business and all that, and the presidential primaries, and Lord knows whatever else is going on in Washington, D.C. And it's about, whether we have elections or not. And at the start, I'll make the observation that I've done a recent video on this subject called, Elections, Why Bother? I'm going to try to extend the logic a little bit here if I can. Um, and bring out some facts there that not only do we not have any elections, but since getting my document packets, which you can get at unincourt@gmail.com, you're going to get documentary proof that there are no states. That's the crown jewel of the unopposed issues I advocate. And if that's true, and it is, there are no elections in territories unless Congress provides for them. And as far as I can tell, they've not done that since about 1848 in Oregon. So no elections, then all your officers in Sacramento here and locally are appointed by the president or a territorial governor appointed by the president. That's a hell of a legal argument to make in the traffic court, in the criminal court, what have you, because they don't have any authority at all, and yet they falsely, if not treasonously, pretend to represent the people of the state of California here who aren't even defined in the California Constitution, let alone, as bad as it is, and even worse for them, they actually are defined in the Constitution of 1849, Article 2, Section 1, 3, white male, 21. That's who the people are, were, and are. The California Constitution of 1879, assuming it could be lawfully passed, did not repeal the earlier Constitution. Really interesting stuff when you stop and think about this. But yeah, elections, we don't have any, and especially not in the Senate. And people screaming, oh, you're a bleep, Nate. You have no idea what the hell you're talking about. We got the 17th Amendment. No, we don't. That amendment was quote-unquote ratified in 1913. Not a good year for us constitutional scholars. But at the time, there were no states in existence. And even if they were, it might be questionable because there are some states that voted against it. I know Delaware and Utah were two of them. And this is a case where it might have had to have been ratified unanimously. But look what happened here. By design, thank you, 120 Broadway Street, New York, the New York banksters, they arranged to have the states written out of the Constitution because how it was originally set up. It's simple, people. Think about this. The states were represented in the Senate, and the legislature appointed the senators, and their primary goal was to protect state interests from federal infringement at almost all costs. When we had that type of government, we actually had something at least close to a Republican form of government like we're supposed to have. And that was a big veto on, and if the states didn't go along with it, even if you got things passed in the House of Representatives, even with a microscopic majority of representation, it wouldn't get past the Senate. So, for example, in 1900, when you should have had 3,500 members of Congress, and you only had 438, even if you had a bill passed there, 218 to 210 or whatever, it gets to the Senate, it isn't going to work because the Senate, appointed by the state legislatures, are going to defeat a bill like that. And we don't get all this crap we've had for the last 120 years, if not more than that. So that's the Republican form of government we want to get back. But without elections, and even worse, if we have elections, what's happening in my Oakland case, I'll be doing an update on that in the next video. There is no way that we have to be heard in any of their courts, no matter what you do. They not only will not listen to you, they think they have the authority to either not file documents presented by pro se litigants, or they can summarily remove documents mistakenly filed by the clerk of court. In other words, what they're saying as judges, they have the power to do that, and it protects them because they get into areas where they probably don't know what the law is to start with, which is going to be very embarrassing. The big deal for us is that all of the issues I advocate, every one of them, has the ability on its own without more to at least start the process of taking apart what I call the malignant, malevolent monopoly on the practice of law by the State Bar Association. And here we sit with these black-robed bastards that are required to be members of the State Bar Association ruling on these issues. Can you say irreconcilable conflict of interest? Accordingly, those of you that have gotten my documents, and as you know, you get free updates for a year, you're going to get a butte here because we're going to make the argument to disqualify all of these bastards because they lack status and standing, even if otherwise properly in office. They can't rule. What they should be doing if they follow their oath of office to the Constitution is recuse themselves, and for this reason and on the record. That's what's supposed to happen. If any of you ever know of a case where that's happened, please let me know. I'd love to hear it. Not how it works. So it's a major big deal. But this is all related to the issue of not having elections. And, now, like the damn judges in particular, and even the 9 old farts, get appointed and they have to have the approval of the American Bar Association. Don't ask when that started. It's a private organization. It should have nothing to do with it. And yet they have a lot of clout as to who gets on that court and why. And at the local level, of course, the judges are appointed, if they're appointed, at all by the governor. And they can be appointed, by the way, by the governor and then subject to election at a later time. But appointments can be made by the governor with the approval of the assembly here in California. But at no point in time do you ever have any body of people up there that represents our interest, understands our rights, doesn't know anything, doesn't care, and they don't think they have to. That's the attitude I want to change and say, not so fast. Just like Lee Corso. You do have duties to do here, and if you violate your duties, there are penalties. Acts have consequences. That's the fight I'm engaged in, and we may be taking a big step forward here in Oakland, especially if the removal gets filed into federal court, because now they can't ignore it. They've got to answer it, and everybody knows they don't have any answers. So we get the kids set free, and now we go after them offensively, and probably with not even anything filed in a court in an offensive action. We sit them down at the settlement table and say, you know what the hell you did. You know what the unopposed record is. We've got it chapter and verse, and with multiple witnesses with affidavits. That's what you need to do in your cases to get people to attend, even if they're only short affidavits as to what happened. Write out what impressed them the most, do an affidavit, give it to you. You can use it to support the various documents that you file. That's what gets you around their motion to dismiss, because now you've stated a claim. And if the judge denies it, now he's likely to be not only reversed on appeal, there may be consequences behind the scene for a judge like that, who should damn well know better. This is where we start making them change the way they do things. And if we can prove, as I've been maintaining here, they don't have any jurisdiction, they're personally liable for that. So that's the whole point of the exercise, what I'm doing here. So I've gotten a bit off subject, I get that, but it all relates to the fact that we don't have any elections, not even for dog catcher. And when I was going up, we used to have a position called dog catcher, and the joke was that you couldn't get elected as a Republican in the South if you even put a position of dog catcher, because of all of what went on in the Reconstruction era of that time. 100 years later, you still couldn't get elected. So you still had the solid South up until the 1970s. And that's the way it was. But without an elected government, what do we not have, people? Hello. Article 4, Section 4, Republican form of government. And this will not be a political question when it gets to the 9 farts. There's only ever been there one time in about 1850, Luther v. Borden. And they weren't asking the questions that I am. We had better questions. And they dodged it back then. They won't be able to do it now, because if we don't have that Republican form of government, and if you can't, and the big deal here is that without elections, you don't have anybody that can act as a judge that can make decisions on the issues we present. Among other things, that means, for all intents and purposes, you can't set an Article 3 case or controversy for the 9 farts. You can't get there on the appellate side. As you'll learn in an upcoming video, boy, can we do it on the original side, and we want to, but at the moment you can't get there. And if we don't know why we're wrong, even if we had elected officials, how can we exercise our right to instruct our representatives in what we want them to do, and or nominate and elect those who will do it once we get into the voting booths and vote them into office? It can't be done. That alone, I mean, that's, wow. If that's not a Republican form of government, I don't know what isn't, because if you can't do any of that, and they always say, well, tell it to the judge, there are no judges, or vote them out at the election time, there are no elections. Where the hell is the remedy at? You tell me. I'd love to hear it. Meanwhile, thanks for your support. Subscribe to my videos. Tell your friends to check it out. And send me an email at youwinincourt@gmail.com for more information. And I'll probably send you a complimentary letter I'm going to send out to a lot of people here about why there's no elections. The voter elected people, the Secretary of State, some other people, and say, what is it you're getting paid for here with respect to your duties relevant to elections? I mean, we know damn well they don't exist. Looks like a waste of money to me. So I'll let you know how that goes. Thank you.